You see, after Elon bought Twitter, the rate at which Twitter agreed to take down certain posts that were requested by certain governments from around the world increased by a lot, from 50% to 80%. And that's also after the amount of requests also heavily increased. Like, for example, the president of Turkey requested that several journalists who were posting a lot of things criticizing the Like, for example, the president of Turkey requested that Twitter would take down certain accounts that constantly criticized the government. And this was also during the election. Obviously, this is censorship and goes completely against what Elon preaches. But guess what? He banned them. His defense was that he had no choice because if he obliged, then Twitter would get banned in Turkey. Tater, what are you doing? Alright. That's it. No. I told you to behave. You're not behaving. So I gotta kick you out now, bro. I told you to behave. You have to behave. Sorry, that was my cat. Even though before Elon, Twitter had this exact same issue. Before Elon was CEO, Turkey had years before, Turkey heavily requested that Twitter would take down certain posts and accounts that were criticizing the government pretty heavily, but Twitter rejected this. They stood their ground and said no. Turkey shut down Twitter, and Twitter in return took them to court. And they won. Every time Turkey tried to censor Twitter and Twitter said no, Twitter would always take them to court and win every time. Yet Elon, the guy who's the most Elon, the guy who was the most pro-free speech and anti-censorship, Elon, the guy who was constantly preaching the most about free speech and anti-censorship, Elon, the guy who's preaching the most about free speech and anti-censorship, Elon, the guy who's preaching the most about anti-censorship, now folds? And even when Twitter did take down certain posts requested by the government, they had an entire website that was dedicated to explaining why each post was taken down. Because guess what? You do have to take some things down sometimes. And at least there was an explanation for it. But they stopped doing this like over 2 years ago. What the fuck? How is this free speech? Yet all day, every day, Elon constantly brags about how Twitter is now Yet all day, every day, Elon constantly boasts about how Twitter is the most free speech platform ever. While also posting all of these meaningful images, posts, and quotes to remind people that remember, you have to... At the same time also posting all of these meaningful quotes and posts. At the same time posting all of these meaningful images and quotes about how to never let power control... Yet at the same time posting all of these meaningful posts and quotes about how to never let power and higher-ups... Yet at the same time posting all of these meaningful images and quotes about how to never let the government control you or stuff like that. Just to let you know that he's one of you. And to never let yourself get controlled. The climax of Elon's crazy change was becoming an official member of the government. He became the senior advisor of the president for the He became the senior advisor for the president of He became the senior advisor of the president. He became the senior advisor of the president for the Department of the... Fuck me. He became the senior advisor for the... He became the senior advisor of the president of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE for short. This was to help make sure that tax dollars were spent properly. What he did for these changes was organizing layoffs, cutting climate change initiatives, cutting down on scientific research and DEI initiatives, and on top of it all, also cutting US aid. All of these were things that Elon vouched for in the past, now suddenly was completely against. It was just such a weird turn of character. And people were very unhappy from this, and people were very unhappy about this from the get-go. Elon had no government experience before this. Now suddenly, Elon had no government experience of any kind before this. Now all of a sudden, he was being provided with extremely sensitive secret data from the government. And it kind of seemed like he was only getting this because he sucked up to Trump so hard. There's nothing that really represents this more than when he did the Zeke Heil salute at the presidential inauguration. Now, I'll just say this. As a Jewish guy, I actually, honestly, genuinely do not think that was his intention when he did that. I really do think that he was maybe trying to do some different type of salute and just got caught. I really do think he was just simply really caught up in the moment and meant to do some sort of different salute. I mean, he is on the spectrum after all. But regardless of what your political stance is or if you think he did it, one thing that we all need to agree on is that no one, and I mean no one, should be doing that type of salute at the presidential inauguration where millions of Americans are watching. No one should be doing that pose at any point. You can't do that. I don't give a fuck what side you're on. That's just stupid and not okay. If you put the footage of the salute right next to actual neo-Nazis, it's very indistinguishable. But this wasn't really as much... But the real problem, in my opinion, was just simply how Elon reacted to it. Instead of maybe just apologizing and being like, hey, I made a mistake, that wasn't very smart. Instead, he just did not own up to it at all. He called all of the media sources biased for simply trying to claim that it was a Nazi salute, and he even threatened to... And he also said that Wikipedia should be defunded for claiming a... And he also said that Wikipedia should be defunded for claim... And he also said that Wikipedia should be defunded for claiming it was a Nazi salute. Again, being such a critic... Again, being such a hypocrite to the very thing that he preaches the most. He can't admit his own wrongdoing over the stupidest stuff. How on earth are we supposed to trust him to be in government? Elon had achieved his strong desire for power and attention after all these years. He's now in the White House working directly with the president. It doesn't really get any better than that. But this has come at a cost for him. Because one of the cons has been his company Tesla having a complete downfall. Since Tesla is associated with Musk, people have been taking out their anger and frustration on the brand. Charging stations have been set on fire. People have been protesting outside the factories and dealerships. People have also been Charging stations have been set on fire. Large protests set outside of dealerships and factories. People have also been putting swastikas on Cybertrucks. Tesla is no longer a brand to flex anymore. Tesla no longer is a brand to flex. So much so that Tesla owners have quite literally replaced the car logo with different car logos on their vehicles so that it doesn't get damaged or get in any trouble. the FBI it got to the point where the FBI quite literally had to issue a warning. Tesla stock went down severely after Elon's speech, and Tesla stock has gone down severely after that speech, and their reputation is now in the gutter. Elon had one of the best images in history. A man who stood for progressing human society, a man who stood for progressing society forward with innovative ideas and inventions. Now he's a guy who seemingly goes against anything he preaches. We don't know what the fuck is true anymore with what he says. And while Elon has brought forward a lot of good things, is it really worth the cons that we're possibly getting? Yes, we got certain political leaders and influencers back on social media, but we also seem to get a lot more censorship in return. Is the free speech really worth the possible political corruption that comes with it? After all, what really is free speech? Free speech is letting the people that you really hate the most having a voice. I don't like people like Nick Fuentes who get a very large audience for constantly... I don't like people like Nick Fuentes who has a giant audience for constantly saying that my people should die. Or people like Kanye who post... Or people like Kanye who constantly post swastikas on their page. But at the end of the day, I'm not a better person than them simply just for saying that they should be banned, because that's censorship. Clearly, Elon seems to only really hate it when his personal criticizers go against him. But everything else is free game. But after all, weren't the most progressive leaders of their time super controversial? MLK Jr. and Abraham Lincoln are some of the most progressive people who made history, and both of them were killed for what they did. Is Elon maybe just above us and we simply don't understand what he's doing? I'm not capable enough to make rockets or run a company, but hey, what do I know? I'm just a YouTuber.